What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to our brand new episode. It is I, your host, Adam Perez, and we are here with another review for Black Lightning, guys, as we are one episode away from the series finale. Tobias! Did you guys see the preview for next week's episode? I got so pumped, literally, I turned my TV off right after that, and I came to sit down and go ahead and talk about this episode with you guys, because listen, Jefferson's not dead, obviously. I mean, we see him in next week's episode, but what a great cliffhanger to certainly leave us on, and the great preview. Tobias! I'm sorry. I'm just so ready for Jefferson Pierce to just whip that ass, man. Especially after just the opening of this episode where we got the opportunity to see Jefferson and talking to Jennifer, revealing a secret that I honestly thought that maybe he's already shared this story with his kids about what Tobias did to his father. But the idea that this is his first time telling Jennifer, incredible moment, I think, for a father and a daughter to certainly share, and for him to kind of let down his guard and reveal that story to his daughter to kind of, help her understand that he's definitely been where she's at, and by Tobias's hands also in some sense or another. So I love that this is kind of all coming full circle now, right? That this is sort of Black Lightning's origin story, what started it out for him. We hadn't seen a flashback of this moment of Tobias killing his dad in a really long time. So the fact that they delivered to that to us in the beginning of this episode and paid it off by the end, where we finally get the opportunity to see Jefferson versus Tobias, I thought was great storytelling on their part. I was actually pretty surprised at the cliffhanger, because I'm thinking to myself, Jefferson's gonna make it through this season, right? And then then you kill him off, sort of thing. I think that's just a perfect build-up into this series finale, because now you've got Jefferson Pierce with this animosity, this anger that's built up, right? These years of wanting to avenge his father's death and get some revenge for himself. I'm assuming it looks as though he probably buries him still alive, and he's got to get his way out. Like just that slow motion look in the preview of Black Lightning coming out of the grave, it looks like, at the cemetery. I'm so pumped for next week's episode. I truly am. But mind you, that episode doesn't get as much hype if this episode isn't great. And I had a ton of fun with this episode. I really enjoyed this episode, to certainly say the least, but I'm really gonna miss this show, guys. I truly am. There's so much more story to certainly tell here, and to be mined with so many great characters. It is unfortunate that some of these characters we will not be seeing again, but I am just keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that Jefferson Pierce certainly does make it out of this series alive. But kudos goes out to Cress Williams here, who just did an amazing job. I've always loved his rendition of Jefferson Pierce playing Black Lightning. I think he's done a marvelous job, really able to tap into those emotions when you absolutely need them to. And when Jennifer in this episode certainly needs somebody that can relate and understands how she's feeling with the passing of Uriah, Cress Williams comes through as Jefferson to do a remarkable job of having that daughter and that's father and daughter talk, and really giving her the hope that she needs to go back out there and continue to be Lightning despite the fact of what happened to Uriah. That's the sucky part of being a superhero that she mentioned. Being a superhero sucks, and I love that Jefferson's there to just be real about it and be like, yeah, it does. Because while you certainly are going out there to protect people, and that I'm sure when you save a life, that's probably the best feeling in the world, but the sacrifices, right, that go into who you are as a person, your own personal lives, are many. And so there isn't, while I'm sure there's a very gratifying aspect of being a superhero, there is very much a sucky part at being a superhero. And this is Jennifer certainly learning it the hard way. And for Jefferson, who's been there before, I thought that was just a really great moment for them to share, to give Lightning that, to pick her up off her feet, you know what I mean? And put her back on her feet, and go back out there and do something great. and we see her taking on Red in this episode, going ahead and taking care of him one-on-one. She does go up to the ionosphere one more time, even though TC tells her not to, but eventually clearly comes around and does the right thing of not only taking out Red, but the easy thing I would think for some people, especially an immature teenager at times, to do would probably just to be kill Red right on the spot, right? But instead, she does go ahead and actually delivers Red to Chief Lopez, who has some pretty negative words to certainly say, but I love the fact that Lightning checked her ass real quick with that live coverage feed. You know what I mean? Like that's the best way to get those cops into problems if they're trying to hassle you or give you a hard time. Always have that phone handy. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that she had her on live broadcast to everybody in the world to kind of see and really judge her and really see who she is, you know, at heart, I thought was pretty killer. But honestly, it seems as though Lightning just literally created an arch nemesis for her in here, as Chief Lopez has just had enough. And I found Chief Lopez's story pretty interesting. We haven't really known too much about her, but we did see from Detective Shakur us at least shining some light on her past in here. The idea that Chief Lopez, you know, lost people that she loved due to metas. And I think she said, was it her husband that wind up getting metahuman abilities and then went kind of crazy? I can't recall what it was, but she's firsthand experienced the idea of metahumans on the evil side of things or on the bad side of things really ruining her life. So she definitely has that animosity going in. One of the things that probably attracted Tobias to her to go ahead and pull her into his web, if you will, right? And now we see her, you know, going that extra mile in here while she wants to get rid of metas. Now she's creating herself into a meta only to go ahead and take down another meta herself. So it looks like Lightning's going to be able to have herself a battle for the finale in here. And I'm really eager to see Lightning against Chief Lopez. There's definitely something personal there for these two characters to certainly take care of. So I really enjoyed the Lightning stuff we wind up getting in here, seeing JJ become a better hero. You know what I mean? She has been very frustrating at times, if you will, when it comes to her heroism. But I'm glad to see that she certainly did the right thing in this episode. But yeah, man, you know what? Speaking of Jefferson too, I really love the Jefferson and Lynn stuff that we got in this episode. You know, we've talked about them before in the sense of where are they going to end up by the end of the season. Again, I'm crossing my fingers that Jefferson at least lives, but I enjoyed the scene here where we got Jefferson handing over to his will, you know, updating it in case this confrontation with Tobias doesn't go as planned. I mean, probably a little bit foolish of Jefferson to go in there alone, right? Like Gambi even offered it, but I get the idea that this is something personal, but you're going up against Tobias. The guy still got his metahuman abilities and you don't, right? This is not going to end the way that you certainly thought. So I appreciated the attempt, but man, Gambi definitely needed to be there for him. But the moment between him and Lynn, I just thought was just really heartfelt. And I just thought it was a really perfect representation of really who these two characters are deep down inside. And, you know, just despite the drug addictions, despite the year of grieving over somebody, right? This is the Lynn and Jefferson that I remember. The humble enough to be able to apologize for their actions and being able to embrace each other and certainly move on. You know what I mean? And I love the idea here that, you know, when it comes to these two characters and you just look at their past, it's really Jefferson in the past who was very adamant about continuing to be Black Lightning, right? He did keep that persona down for quite some time, but when Tobias and his daughter started, you know, getting pulled into that, or getting, you know, Tobias started messing around with them and Lala, and he had to bring back the Black Lightning thing, you know, he was definitely the person to continue pushing being Black Lightning for quite some time. And so, you know, even though it was certainly Lynn who was kind of against it and really didn't want to bring that family into that type of world, it is nice to see that by season 4 here that the tables have kind of switched a little bit, right? Now you've got Jefferson apologizing to her for the life that he's given her because of some of the choices that he certainly has had to make. But now you have Lynn over here who's like, look, while this may not have been what I probably signed up for, you know, the fact that she's got such amazing daughters, and I think she even includes Grace in there, because she says three daughters, right? But she only has Jennifer and Anissa. So I thought that was cool that she even included Grace in there now as part of the family, and even along with Jefferson in there too, and just saying that she wouldn't trade it in for the world. That this is the best life that she possibly could have ever imagined for herself. I just thought that was just really heartfelt and just really says a lot too. After everything that these two have been through and all the disputes and the negative things and the harsh words that they've said to each other, they're pretty pleased and pretty well off with how their lives certainly turned out, regardless of the circumstances. So that's the Jefferson and Lynn that I remember, that I absolutely. That's the Jefferson and Lynn that I absolutely remember, and it's so glad to kind of see them tap into that by the end of this season. Because if they ended this season with just ill will towards each other, or that harboring old feelings and animosity, I wasn't quite sure how I would feel about that. We already mentioned the idea that they're probably not going to get married, right? The idea of Jefferson mentioning let's get married, and she kind of blowing it off type of thing. I don't know if it's going to get to that, but even if it doesn't, I'm perfectly okay with where they're going to be at now after this particular meeting. But who knows? Maybe we get ourselves a nice little small epilogue, get to see Lynn and Jefferson maybe eventually married. Who knows? But I'm just glad that we got what we certainly did with these two characters in here. And speaking of Lynn, I really loved how she was handled in this episode. Not only do we get to see Lynn and Gamby sitting down and figuring things out as to like executing the plan, but her scene with Lauren, I thought was fantastic. Lauren clearly wanting to know a little bit more information from Gamby as to what she's working on. Gamby being the respectful one, saying, listen, this isn't my story or, secret to tell type of thing. But having Lauren and Lynn sort of link up with one another. I mean, when they get into the room together, the IQ intelligence just knocked me over. Just seeing these two just talk amongst themselves, and just to see just how these two strong, beautiful, and intelligent women just carry this scene together. And it actually really made me want to see more of them, to be quite honest, because I feel like these two just combining their minds, like they would just be a powerhouse team and just really unstoppable. Like I could easily see them being some of the strongest links on like a Team Arrow or a Team Flash or a Super Friends team with Supergirl sort of thing. I really love their mind and their levels of intelligence in here, and just to see them carry this scene between each other, I thought was phenomenal. So it's just sad that it's moments like this that we won't get the opportunity to see more of because the show is ending. But I thought that was TV gold, just to see Lauren and Lynn on screen together, just kind of talking things out and coming up with the game plan, and Lynn revealing her secret to Lauren, who kind of connected the pieces together. But the fact that it's Lynn telling her that, I think definitely made the most sense, and it really worked out for them both. So man, I really would like to see more of those women together, because I just think they're incredibly smart and can really carry a show, to be perfectly honest with you. And speaking of Lynn and Gamby, that we kind of talked just a hint about, one of the things that happened in the previous episode where we saw Lauren and Gamby in the sewers, and they come across this line and like stream of promethium under Freeland. A part of me was just like, really? Like, you just mentioned the idea of how rare of a material this is to certainly be found and mined somewhere, right? And all of a sudden it just happens to be under Freeland. So there are times, like the previous episode, I was thinking to myself, like, man, the writers just you want to talk about just making something conveniently there, right, to help your story progress, sort of thing, without any explanation. I love the fact that they go back in this episode and they give us a pretty logical explanation of how the promethium wind up getting there. Based off of the idea of how I mentioned how rare it was, I did find it odd how convenient it was previously, but the fact that Gamby explains to us that with the ASA force field that they have, with everything that Gravedigger was doing in the previous season, when that shield falls down, that excess energy winds up going into the soil and the minerals under Freeland, thus creating the promethium once it's actually combined. And I thought that was really smart. I thought that was just some really smart storytelling to kind of clear away what some people might have just looked as like that overly convenient thing that just happens sort of thing. So I love the fact that they're smart enough to not only explain that, but then also come up with another game plan as to how to find this emitter, in which Lauren and Lynn go ahead and figure out that it is in fact the fact that if they find, instead of looking for the Promethean signal itself, that they would try and find the nullifier signal that's certainly going out. So I thought that was just pretty genius to say the least. But I'm ready to see this showdown, guys. I'm ready to see the Pierce family facing off against Tobias and his cronies. There was, even when we opened up this episode, we go through the comic book pages and things like that. There was a great illustration of like the entire team standing in a row, probably doing a slow-mo hero walk, if you will. You know what I mean? And I'm wondering, I was kind of thinking, some of those scenes that we see in the pages are actually showcased in the episode itself, but I didn't see that scene in here. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe there's a live action scene similar to that in next week's episode, as we get to see, I think it had like Grace, Lightning, Thunder, Black Lightning in a row. Even Lynn was in there too. I can't remember if Khalil was pictured in there or not, but I just thought it's a shot in cartoon form that I really would love to see in live action at some particular point in time. Let me see if there's any honorable mentions that I wrote down real quick. We got to see Grace and Anissa doing some domestic terrorism for themselves in here. I thought that was pretty proud of them there. Well, maybe not that sense, but bringing down one of the buildings that they certainly needed to, and erasing a ton of information. I believe it was in regards to the metagene experimentation that they were doing on the pregnant women and things like that, pulling the metagene out. So they definitely tried to retrace their steps, or at least cover their tracks, if you will, and remove that energy. We did get ourselves a name drop of both Metropolis along with Star City in this episode, which I thought was great. Getting the opportunity to see Tobias ahead of the shadow board now. I'm glad that we went back to the scene. They did tell him that your seat was going to be dependent on if you win your mayoralship, which Tobias did. So this explains why he wanted to go ahead and have that conversation with them. But now they're trying to recede that seat from him, take it back from him, because of the fact that Lightning is still technically out there. She's the only metahuman that's really standing in Tobias's way, doing that hero thing that Jefferson asked her to in order to protect Freeland, right? So the fact that he's not able to get on the board because of Lightning, I thought was just a pretty spot on. But again, Tobias being cold-blooded as ever to go ahead and have Ishmael ready for him to go ahead and advance on his signal, and Ishmael winds up killing one of the board members, now leaving an extra seat open for Tobias if he certainly wants to, and really getting everybody to bow before him, because Tobias has got that type of power and he's got that type of leverage, man. You can never count him out. And, you got these privileged ass people behind the screens, behind their holograms and stuff. They're feeling cozy. They've never experienced anything like Tobias. And now he's just coming running rampant all over their shadow board, to say the least. All hail the king, as Tobias certainly reigns. And I thought that was pretty brilliant of a move by Tobias. Always one step ahead. And just that beating that he wind up giving Jefferson at the end, just absolutely brutal. And just sticking that knife and turning it again for Lightning, killing Uriah, teasing the fact that he killed her father. He's really pushing the necessary buttons to get them worked up, man. And that's just how cold-blooded Tobias is. He never fails. One of the most consistent and best villains in the DCTV, hands down, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. What other honorable mentions that I have? The Painkiller versus Ishmael, man. I even went on Twitter to said, oh shit, this is the showdown I was hoping for. I do wish it was a little bit longer. A part of me kind of wishes that maybe we would get even a round 2 in the finale. So I do wish it was maybe extended a little bit longer. But the fighting and the choreography is everything that I needed to see. Jordan Calloway continues to just impress, honestly. Salim Akil, whoever's the person that picks the soundtracks for Painkiller to whoop ass to. They do a great job in regards to great music selections each and every week. It just continues to show me why Jordan Calloway needs his own show as Painkiller. There's so much potential there, and the action alone, I feel like, warrants something. So whoever the second unit director is, whoever's doing the action and the choreography, I would love to know, because they've been doing some amazing work here with the Painkiller stuff, and I hope they get the opportunity to showcase it more in his show. So Jordan Calloway, if you're watching, man, I'm rooting for you. I really am, because I really would love to see more of Painkiller on the big screen. Yeah, guys, other than that, I think this was a great episode for a penultimate episode to go ahead and lead into the finale next week. I don't know how it's going to end, but I can tell you one thing. I'm hella excited, and I can't wait to see what we wind up getting next week. So, guys, listen, do you guys have any predictions as to what we could potentially see? Do you think everybody makes it out of this season alive? Do some perish? Do some people get happy endings? Some don't? I definitely would love to know what you guys think. I will say this real quick before we go. The Grace and Anissa conversation that they're having inside of Anissa's like secret base in her apartment, besides everything that they talked about and the back and forth, I mean, it's great that they kind of came to an agreement or understanding and stuff. I love just to showcase to you just the idea of what it's like living inside of being like a superhero family, if you will. The fact that Anissa is just like, or there, Anissa and Grace, they exchanged their "I love you." She's like, "I love you," and he's like, "I love you too." Now pass me that grenade. like, damn, you passing explosions right after you just vow your love for one another, sort of thing. It's just, that the juggling of a superhero relationship and marriage type of thing. I just thought it was a great line. It's like, "I love you too." Now pass me that grenade explosive. Thank you. I just thought it was great. They start packing up equipment and guns and grenades and stuff. Like, yeah, that's definitely a superhero relationship for sure. But listen, guys, if there's anything that I happen to miss, whether it were character work, character development, storyline details that you guys want to further go ahead and talk about, definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, because as always, these are just my A+ opinions, but I always want to know yours. So let your thoughts and your voice certainly be heard in the comment section box after this video airs, guys. But other than that, I will definitely see you guys next week for sure, as Black Lightning's back, at least for one more episode. But guys, until then, do me a big favor, okay? Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and until next time, keep it A+. I'll talk to you later. Bye.